What if I told you there was a proven way to transform literacy instruction? Would you want to learn more on how to apply this in your school? Well, today I'll be discussing a few key challenges in our classrooms today. Capacity building being one. This capacity building is really the key to enhancing classroom practice and transforming instruction. And it is something that we can do to support you and develop this in your schools. So COVID has been exceptionally difficult on administrators, educators, students, and families. Educators have had less time with their students, less time to make informed decisions, and really less time to understand how well students are doing or how to provide them or their families with the support they need. So the key here is building educator capacity and efficacy is really become an urgent necessity. We know that if we do not change instructional practice, we will not change student outcomes. So first, I'd like to start with a territorial acknowledgement, excuse me. So we acknowledge the traditional ancestral territory of the First Nation people in our respective locations on which we are learning, working, and gathering today. We pay our respects to the members, past, present, with honor and gratitude as they have stewarded the land throughout the generations. I am confident that we will continue to work together in harmony with the best of intentions. Walaleo. Let's look at a day in the life of one educator. Now, obviously, this is just a generalization, and every day it is different for every educator. But let's look at Joanne. Joanne's a grade 1 teacher. It's Monday, and she's been at the school for an hour, getting ready for the week. She has her daily and weekly schedule prepared. She's reviewed and prepared the lesson plan, the activities for the day. She's sifted through the administrative and parent emails. She knows which students will be attending, who will be absent, and she also knows who may require extra assistance. And she's already addressed a parent's concern. So the bell rings and she welcomes the children to class. What next? Joanne follows the lesson plan, goes through the learning objectives for the day, checks for learning, and notes which children may need additional support. Now, Joanne follows this pattern for much of the week, adding in small group instruction points where needed. At the end of the week, she reviews her notes to informally assess if the students have learned the required material and who will require additional support before she moves on to the next unit. So the extensive preparation that educators do each week is essential to keep up with the curriculum, learning objectives, and assessment schedule. But what really does all this planning tell us? Does it tell us what the exact steps are to move each student along in their learning journey? What activities can be done to precisely address areas of weakness? How to address learning alongside of these activities? Does it tell us whether educators have up-to-date knowledge and skills to support the needs of all students? Does it tell us whether educators are using the most effective teaching techniques to keep children engaged and achieve their best learning outcomes? And does it tell us whether educators are leveraging data to provide the necessary interventions to keep children on track for graduation? For educators to continue to support all of their students, we need to ensure that they are empowered with the right skills and knowledge to do so. So our webinar today is focused on 4 main subjects. Initially, we'll go through the challenges facing educators, how to build capacity, enhance skills, and transform instruction, proven professional learning, and how all of this leads to creating a better future for our children. So I'm going to ask you a question here. And it's a difficult question. It may seem like a loaded question, but are we supporting students the best that we can? So what if I told you that despite the dedication of motivated educators, only 70% of students leave school well equipped with the literacy skills to reach their full potential? So let's just take a minute and think about that. So if we think of a school with 100 students, that would mean that 30 students would leave that school without the literacy skills to achieve success. Recent research and major scientific advancements into literacy acquisition help to explain why. Our current curriculum and teaching practices have not yet aligned with science. So a key question now is, how can we use this research to improve student outcomes? So we know we can help educators achieve sustainable improvements in child outcomes if we address some of the key factors that impact the efficacy of instruction. So we need to be able to support our educators in schools to improve the efficacy of instruction so that they can be more effective, check effectiveness, see results, and act on those results. Build educator capacity, thereby saving them time. Time, that's the gift that every educator wants you to give them. So enabling them to reach more children quickly and effectively, and really monitor progress and target instruction effectively. So the first step to sustainable literacy improvements is to empower educators with the knowledge and the skills directly linked to the science of reading, effective classroom practice, and leveraging data to support continuous school improvement. So let's look at the key things that educators can do to improve the learning of their students. So one of these key steps is to prioritize effective reading instruction. To do this, educators will need an improved understanding of literacy acquisition. So there's a science behind reading that focuses on the skills children must acquire to become fluent and efficient readers. Efficient readers. The science is based on research across education, psychology, neuroscience, and linguistics. It pinpoints the fundamental skills, decoding, and language comprehension. Getting a deep understanding of this science will help to unlock a child's reading potential. And we always say that all educators are teachers of literacy. But I think back about my training when I was going through the education program, probably about 28 years ago. And I don't remember any training on literacy acquisition. So I think there's a real need to build the capacity of educators in this area. The next is that foundational skills in literacy instruction. So, I talked recently to an administrator discussing some of the challenges they were having in the early years. And she said that for a while, many teachers were leaving teaching programs knowing how to teach, but not having adequate training on how to teach literacy. And so this is slowly changing, but we have heard this is a common from administrators across Canada. And like I just mentioned, I don't know how much things have changed from 28 years ago. So because of this, many schools across Canada use an approach to reading that requires students to memorize a large set of words based on their visual characteristics and syntactic properties, and discover the meaning of those words using pictures and other visual cues. This is commonly referred to as the whole language approach. However, as I mentioned previously, the preponderance of scientific evidence really indicates that children learn to read more quickly and efficiently if they're initially taught with a structured phonics approach. Adopting a systematic and explicit phonics program at the school level, embedded with intervention, is really a powerful next step to getting all children on the track to read. And finally, the use of high-yield teaching strategies. So there's a vast array of effective instructional practices already in use by many educators. However, some educators might not have that repertoire of evidence-based high-yield teaching strategies, classroom management strategies, or access to support from a qualified mentor to really be as effective as they can be. So action to address this is needed to transform practice. So the key takeaway here is that we really need to reduce the disconnect between teaching children to read and how children learn to read. So we need to provide all educators with literacy instruction skills that are proven to positively impact student success. The second is enhancing classroom teaching skills. So we all know most people become teachers because they want to make a difference in the lives of children and their communities. As educators, we find joy when children are learning. Just think about some of those high school classes that you've taught. I always used to think that the grade sevens were the best because they would laugh at my jokes. But so really finding, having that passion. However, we can have as much passion as we want, but it still is that about 1/2 of all teachers leave the profession in the first 5 years. And the 3 most cited reasons is that they do not feel adequately prepared, they do not have support from a mentor, and they find working conditions challenging, most often because of classroom management issues and a lack of support. So there are a few key things that educators can do to enhance instruction. These include deepening the knowledge about how children learn. So that means like being adequately prepared and understanding the science behind how children learn. This includes building effective lesson plans, finding ways to understand students better, using high yield teaching strategies. All of these contribute significantly to reinforcing confidence in new and experienced teachers. Increasing engagement. Being able to better engage students in learning reduces disruption and lost learning time at school. I think, if a teacher had a wish, they would, I want all my students to be engaged. And we know that can vary significantly, the level of engagement, but it really influences whether or not educators can consistently achieve learning goals, even with the most challenging students. And maintaining order in the classroom. So learning how to reduce disruption, lost learning time in class through applying key strategies that really massively influence learning and motivation for students and educators. It can also directly impact whether educators can consistently achieve set learning goals, even with the most challenging students. I was reading something the other day. Dr. Wilms was writing a new practical advice. I guess you would call it a resource for educators, and looking through it, and it was talking about motivation and some practical strategies you could use in the classroom. And I was like, I had never thought of it in that way before. And so always, learning those new ways that we can engage our students in the classroom. And the last one is really understanding how to create an inclusive classroom. So learning is an interplay of the attributes of the learner. We know we've got those cultural factors and the context in which learning occurs. So when teachers know their students, they naturally ask the questions about how can we best adapt our teaching to meet the culture, the context of the school community. So those questions can be best addressed with an understanding of how students' culture and context interact with the ways that students learn. So students make the best progress when they're taught in an inclusive classroom where all students feel valued and respected. So having said all that, the key message here is that effective teaching is a set of instructional practices that enables students with diverse abilities and cultures to become successful learners. It is the most important foundation for success, contributing to student learning and well-being. The continuous development of these skills is crucial to becoming an effective teacher. So every day, instructional leaders make decisions that directly impact student outcomes. Data collected from schools, classrooms, and students bring essential insight into decision-making. Think back to Joanne there when I started the beginning of the presentation, and think how many decisions that she had made already even before her day started. But with that vast array of available data, it can really be difficult for educators to collect and synthesize these sources with efficiency and fidelity. So really enabling educators to effectively know how to use the data continually being monitored and reported on means that they can identify learning gaps quickly, assess a child's progress, and immediately and effectively target instruction to address identified learning needs. So ensuring that your instructional leaders and educators know how to leverage their data is really an essential step towards a data-informed culture and a continuous improvement cycle. What we don't measure, we can't improve, period. So let's take a moment to reflect and ask ourselves, how many professional learning sessions have you attended? And how many have you taken something from and applied it in the classroom? It's a good question. As a former teacher, I'm all too aware of the dread sometimes of PD days. Let's face it, teachers are busy people. We want practical strategies that have an impact on our classroom practice. I really like this quote from Reading for the Love of It, a conference a while ago. And it says that 85% of professional development that happens off campus stays off campus. So we owe our students more than this. So how can we increase the likelihood that professional development will fulfill individual professional learning goals? Every educator, I remember when I was in the system, you have your yearly goals and linking those to the choosing the PD that you were engaging in that year and making sure that they would help support those learning goals that you had set for yourself. But also at the same time, really creating a school-wide community of practice that impacts student outcomes. So I used to say that, you can be a grade 5 teacher, you could be a grade 10 teacher, but you're all teachers of the same children in those buildings. So, I am a teacher of the grade 2 teachers students. So really thinking of that as a community of learning. So in 2020, the Learning Bar really took on this challenge and decided to develop advanced professional learning that is proven to impact classroom practice. It was developed by the literacy team at the Learning Bar and Dr. Doug Wilms, who held a Tier 1 Canada Research Chair in Literacy. The courses are grounded in key evidence from academic research linked to proven and practical classroom pedagogy. So the key here is embedding professional learning in schools that inspires, I truly believe, like collaborative inquiry, increasing the capacity building of the staff, and it really changes the school's culture of teaching and learning. It's my wholehearted belief that this is the path that will help schools make a difference every day in the outcomes of their students. And it's a path I want to present to you over the next few slides. I really think it's a transformative way to look at professional learning in your building. And so that's why I'm so excited to share it with you today. So the Learning Bar offers 3 professional learning courses designed to put advanced skills and knowledge into the hands of educators. So having worked on the development of these courses, I can attest to their potential impact on instruction. There are theoretical and practical aspects within these courses that, I was writing this earlier and I was, thinking, I have to admit this to myself, I wish I had had a better understanding of these as a past teacher and administrator. So really, reflecting on my practice and I often think back, I get to work with educators all across Canada, like Nikki mentioned. And every day there's not a day that goes by that I don't think if I could go back and do something different. And so so my hope today is to really share with you ways to improve upon the opportunities that I missed out on. So these 3 courses that we have developed here at the Learning Bar: the science of reading, the science of teaching, and the science of assessment. So these professional learning courses, they're available in two formats. So first, educators can choose to register independently, giving them autonomy in choosing professional learning that really meets their individual professional goals. And that's what I was mentioning a few minutes ago, looking at your own professional growth plan and those learning opportunities that you feel are really going to help hone in and add new tools to your toolbox to inform your own professional practice. And secondly, they're also a main component to confident learners. And this is a systematic and explicit phonics program designed to build educator capacity and enhance student outcomes. It's a school-wide program that aims to improve children's reading skills in kindergarten to grade 1, and children in later grades who have not mastered the foundational phonics skills required to become a successful reader. Think back to that stat that I mentioned earlier and think about those, in that school of 100, those 30 students that could be leaving without the necessary skills they need to be successful learners. So we really believe that having a structure for teaching, learning, and assessment that can be applied across diverse classroom settings is essential to give all children the opportunity to thrive. So first, I just want to briefly go through these today, and you can always reach out to Nikki, inquiry at the Learning Bar if you'd like to learn more about their courses. You'll find them listed on our website as well. The first one is the science of reading. And it's all about the skills children must acquire to become fluent and efficient readers and the most effective strategies in teaching these skills. So it will help to expand a teacher's understanding of foundational literacy development based on the simple view of reading, extend the repertoire of high-yield teaching strategies based on an active teaching model, provide them with a deeper understanding of the subdomains of decoding and language skills essential in literacy development, coach them on how to apply the core strategies of proactive classroom management, and improve their understanding of teachers can use literacy data to inform instruction and monitor student progress. And we're hearing great reviews from the educators who have already taken this course. The second one is the science of teaching. It's designed for teachers who want to increase their understanding of how children learn, build confidence in managing a classroom with students from diverse backgrounds, use fun and engaging learning activities, and really know how to monitor the success of their students. Educators can learn key teacher competencies designed to help them become even more effective in their teaching practice. And it's a very reflective course. As you move throughout, there's lots of opportunities to reflect on your practice, record in your journal, and really ways that you can enhance your teaching practice. And the science of assessment focuses on the importance of data usage and how it pertains to instructional programming and student progress monitoring. So educators use a wide variety of tools and methods to evaluate student learning and well-being, but that sheer volume of data available to educators can be overwhelming. Often we tend to focus on that student learning data, but really thinking of those other sources of data that come in, the demographic, the perception, the school process data, and putting all that together to really capture the big picture of what's happening in your schools. So really the understanding of the science underlying assessments will help educators to use this data effectively. And that's really the aim of that course, is to equip educators with the tools to effectively use data to increase student learning and target effective instruction. So that's a little bit about the three courses. Like I mentioned, you can reach out to us to learn about them in more detail. We have developed information sheets for each course, and they'll go through and it'll kind of give you a better idea of the modules within each of them. So combined, all of these courses address the key elements of what we can do to achieve sustainable improvements in child outcomes. We can assure that educators have the right knowledge and skills to Firstly, improve the efficacy of their instruction by building on foundational literacy development skills and using high-yield teaching strategies. Secondly, build educator capacity through a deeper understanding of classroom practices, student engagement, and effective teaching practices. And finally, effectively use different forms of data to monitor progress and guide instruction. So what we've done with this professional learning is ultimately link science with the classroom practice. So we know that these courses alone provide educators with the skills and the knowledge to quickly realize improvements if applied at the classroom, school, and district levels. However, the question is, will this knowledge be applied and put into practice? So, and that's really where that collaborative learning environment comes in. That's what I really love about this course. So as educators, you've done this in the past, you've done a book study with your staff. You know, having the ability to take these courses either individually there to enhance your own professional learning goals, looking at your growth plan, or to take them together as a staff. And it's you know, you're working through it and having, you know, just like that book study format, having those really, you know, difficult but challenging discussions around, you know, reflecting on the practice and how can you improve outcomes for students in your school. So that's what I really love about it. So as part of achieving sustainable improvement in student outcomes, the Learning Bar has developed a structured literacy intervention program, Confident Learners. And this program aligns the professional learning courses alongside the leadership development and is then embedded into school planning and classroom practice over a 30 to 36 week period. So really guiding you through this. So the science of reading forms the foundation of the structured literacy program, with Confident Learners providing the best practices and learning activities that can be applied in the classroom. Confident Learners builds on the educator's core competencies and demonstrates explicitly how to apply it in the classroom. And the reading assessment provides ongoing progress monitoring to allow educators and administrators to use classroom, school, and district-wide data effectively. So this Confident Learners intervention program is designed to provide a clear guide of how to apply learning throughout the year to sustainably improve student outcomes. And we always say that we're in a partnership with the schools that we work here at the Learning Bar. So knowing that, you know, we're here to offer that support as well and to guide you through this process. It's a prescriptive approach, and it has provided the support that our clients need to shift the needle in their student success and ensure that all children have the opportunity to thrive. So we need to build capacity for children's literacy success. We all know that it's a challenging task. We believe these professional learning courses in the Confident Learners program put the power and the knowledge back into the hands of the educators and allows data to drive effective decision making to enhance classroom practice and transform instruction. Working together, we believe that we can help educators and administrators transform the lives of your students and give all children the opportunity to thrive.